Okay. Hey, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webcast, Making Library Solutions More Effective in 2024 and Beyond, sponsored by Ex Libris and presented by Library Journal. I'm Joshua Bean, webcast manager for Library Journal, and we're going to get started with the presentation in just a moment. First, we have a little bit of housekeeping information we're going to go over. So the layout of your screen is completely customizable, and you can resize any of the windows, so feel free to move them around and adjust them as needed. If you close any of the windows, you can bring them back up by clicking on the appropriate button down in the toolbar. If you would like to chat with your fellow attendees during the webcast, you can do that using the attendee chat window. But if you have any questions for the presenters, be sure and submit your questions over in the Q&A window where it says ask a question. And you can drop your questions in there at any time. We may respond to some of them through the chat function of the Q&A, but for the most part, we're going to do our best to answer them near the end of the webcast after the presentation. You'll find a copy of the slide deck over in the resource list window, and you'll be able to download your continuing education certificate from the certification window after you've met the viewing requirements. If you want to share this event on social media, you can use the hashtag LJXLibris, and be sure to tag us at Library Journal. If you're having any technical difficulties, you can click on the help widget where you can find all the system requirements and the FAQs. But usually just refreshing the browser page will correct most of the glitches or sound issues you might experience on this webinar platform. But if not, just send me a note through the Q&A and I'll try to help you fix your issue. This webcast is being recorded, so if you miss any part of it, if you want to share it with someone, you'll be able to do that later on. The recordings are usually available within a few hours after the live broadcast, so just know that. And yeah, you can use the same link that you used today. We'll also send you a link tomorrow as a reminder. Okay, with all that good stuff out of the way, I want to hand it over to Itai Veltzman, who's the director of product management for Ex Libris. So take it away, Itai.
Thank you very much, Josh. I'm very excited here to be together with my colleagues and talk together and a little bit have some questions being answered from the best we see in our point of view. Let me introduce first my colleagues here that are part of the panel. Jamie Katsuba, product manager from Alma. Katie Aronov, Director of Solution Consulting, Katie Birch, Senior Director of Resource Sharing Solutions, and Hadass Taib, Product Marketing Manager for Campus M and Leganto. So I'll start with some introduction of the topic that I find it very interesting and very important these days. And what is openness? What does it mean to be open? And it has a lot of terms and a lot of explanation of how it's related to the library in general. And one way we see openness is actually the community, working with the community, be able to work together to promote the ideas, to promote the work of the community and the collaboration between the community. And that's an important part as we see more and more collaboration between the different institutions. When we are looking on libraries, we are not just looking on it from one angle, we're looking at it from various angles, and we are looking on libraries, we are committing to what they want to achieve, to the way that the staff are trying to use the user that using the library, how they are being served. And it's all about, as we see it, as providing choices that suits you the best as library in a large ecosystem of system and tools and services. We would like and love that the library will maximize its impact. We are happy to be a very trusted partner for that goal. And we are very into being open, making sure you can use the system, all the data you have, and looking to be a trusted partner as well. When we are looking, it's not just thinking about what are the needs today, it's also thinking a lot about what are the needs that will of tomorrow and how things should evolve all the time, improving more and more your services. So eventually it's looking ahead. It's a lot about how we collaborate, how we see the whole, how it's eventually the wholes is much more than any single tools or service that we provide. And to do that, we believe that you need a very robust cloud infrastructure that start with the fundamental of providing both security to making sure the data is safe, but also give you the opportunity to open to the world of other systems and give you all the integration and possibility using API. From there, you need a very strong layer that give you a lot of functionality. If it's looking on the UX part, accessibility, ability to create letters and send them, to store all the data and provide you a robust analytics on all this extensive data information. Beyond that, you have a lot of content that need to be managed and need to be shared and need to have central service that index it. If it's a community zone, it's the central discovery index. If the global title index sharing many of the ability to share resources together, and also to have a very strong layer of link open data that give you and connect all the data together. Eventually, the application themselves, the products that give you the unique services you need in each area. If it's the library management, if the discovery abilities in resource sharing area, preservation, in either in student engagement, selection, and research area. In addition, we have also a unique proposition around engagement with the student, both finding the student on where they are used to be, and that's the mobile area, using Campus M on the same cloud infrastructure that enable all these great things, combining a one connected world of our portfolio. So eventually, when you're looking on it, what does it mean? So you have a lot of shared administrating capabilities and workflow that actually helps you to save time and effort, because it's one place and you can do everything at once, that give you better insight using all the information that is coming, usage information and others, bringing you a jointful analytics possibility, giving you great insight, and giving you also all what is related around the sharing of the content and managing it, and giving you great collection management ability and development, and very accurate. And eventually, it's the end user experience should be great. So let's move now to the panelist discussion and see a few interesting questions that we thought that might be of interest of this great audience. I'll start with the first one. What are some ways library staff can address the challenges associated with managing collection? Jamie, I believe it can be a good start.
Yeah, thanks, Itai. I'll kick us off. I'm Jamie Katsiba. I'm a product manager on the Alma team and a former systems librarian, and I'm really thrilled to be here with you all today. And the first thing that really comes to mind for me is a newer challenge of open access and transformative agreement management, which I think we can break into 4 different parts: collection development, license negotiation, budget management, and tracking. And really, in terms of the collection, libraries need to be monitoring which journals are transitioning to open access and adjust their collections accordingly. And in a lot of cases, there's these new types of agreements that have to be negotiated in order to support these varied publishing models that can really best serve your institutions. And these open access publishing models do have costs associated with them. They're known as the article processing charges, or APC. And we have to manage funds, we have to allocate them, we have to manage the funds. And then lastly, this information, the publishing requests, the agreements, the costs, the output, all of that needs to be tracked. Today, most of this is happening outside of the library. It's happening kind of broadly around the institution, where the negotiations are being managed, the recording of the transformative agreements. It's happening outside the library. And we're not, from an institutional perspective, necessarily getting a cohesive understanding of the spend and the impact on faculty work. So this year, the Alma team is releasing some functionality and some workflows to really support this area, where we're empowering the library to lead the way for their institution with the process surrounding transformative agreements. So this will really provide these workflows, these features in Alma will really provide the library with a unified view of the institution's open access negotiations and activities by capturing and recording transformative agreement details like the number of publishing tokens available, the spend, providing insights on cost per use, APC, to inform transformative negotiation, record and display some of those associated rights for their open access journals and articles, integrate with research and publisher platforms to better process publication requests, and a few more things. So this is all really with the goal of empowering the Alma library community to better manage their open access collections and transformative agreement process to eventually prepare for the next round of publisher negotiations. The second thing that comes to mind for me is the challenge of collection curation. So how do you know that the resources you hold meet the needs of your library users? What opportunities exist to free up maybe physical space within the library while still maintaining access to the resources that your users require? What are some cost savings that could be achieved by eliminating redundant subscriptions or holdings? How is the collection actually being used, and what areas of the collection should you maybe consider shrinking or growing? So the overlap analysis tool, which is currently available in Alma, delivers a really holistic perspective as well as a targeted view of your collection to help you quickly understand where there is redundancy or opportunity by comparing your print and electronic collections, by comparing one or more e-resource packages that you subscribe to or that you don't subscribe to, examining cost, examining usage, and a number of other data-driven insights that can really enable you to answer the kind of questions that I just posed. Overlap analysis can tell us, really the state of the collection today, and that's extremely valuable. But how do you transform that information into something more predictive? How do you know how the collection is going to be used in the future? And right now, the Alma team is examining a number of different ways that AI can help us to help you to demystify the collection curation and to actually deliver some predictive analysis, predictive insights. And this is an area under very active exploration and development. But what we're looking at is ways that we can analyze historical borrowing patterns, user behavior, courses, e-resource usage, academic trends, and other data points to provide you with an in-app recommendation within Alma on resource acquisition, deselection, space and shelving, and collaboration opportunities. I am a very visual person, so I really appreciate everybody keying in and listening to me. But if there's folks out there that want to see what we've been doing, what we've done so far, what we're planning on, to really empower this collection optimization, enhance the user experience, assist with your strategic development decisions, our contact info is going to be available at the end of the session. So I'd love to hear from you. And with that, I think I'm passing the ball over to Katie A.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everybody. My name is Katie Aronoff. I'm the director of our solution consulting team here at Ex Libris, and I'm representing discovery in the conversation today. All the ways in which you make your collection discoverable and available to your users and patrons, maybe even beyond your library. I think that discovery has a really important relationship to collection management and to many of the workflows that Jamie was just discussing. We can't talk about how you're managing your collections on the back end without then considering the things that you would do to make them available to patrons and the ways in which patrons interact with your collections. We've done a lot of thinking about that over the years with Primo and Summon. We're continuing to innovate. One of my personal favorite features is the collection discovery feature that we have in Primo. It allows you to highlight a specific collection, whether it's unique digital collections that you have at your institution or something like collections for a specific, like a specific exhibit or something along those lines. That really helps us to get those collections more visible so that the hard work that you're doing on managing the collection in the background is visible to your users. I think it's also really important, and at times we've maybe underplayed this when we've spoken about discovery, to understand from a data perspective, from an analytics perspective, how are users interacting with the environment that we have prepared for them? What are they clicking on? What is their path through the system? What are the things that they're doing that might lead them to a dead end? It's pretty difficult in a index-based discovery environment to hit a true dead end, but it does happen, and when it happens, we should know about it. We're later this year launching a new platform that will help you as library staff measure your user engagement. It's called Mixpanel, and it will allow you to work in concert with the traditional analytics that we've provided about things like what people are clicking on to really understand the user journey. And when I think that when we understand the user journey through the system and we understand how people are interacting with the collections, that gives us the real user feedback that we need to have in order to do the work that Jamie was speaking about in areas like overlap analysis and in understanding how users use our materials across disciplines in different settings at different times. We really need to be taking this from a data perspective and combining that with real world knowledge of what's going on in the library. And I think that when we consider discovery, that's one of the most important contributions that we can make, is to be able to look at that front door of the library and say, how are people walking through it, and then what are they doing? So that's my perspective on the relationship of these public-facing systems to the question of collection management. Hadass, I believe you are up next to talk about how this relates to teaching and learning.
Yes, thank you. This is perfect timing for me based on what you were speaking about, what Jamie is speaking about. Because if we're talking about the user journey, user behavior, to a certain extent, you can guess all day long about what your users might need, right? But if you're buying something that's being used in a course, it's going to be used, right? And we recently had a story from one of our Leganto customers who said they'd spent approximately $5 million on resources that were never used. And with Leganto, our course resource management solution, you can make more effective decisions about your budget because you have access to the right data. You can see exactly what's going to be used in courses. You can see how syllabi align with your existing collection. You can make better decisions about what to buy because you know how many students are in a course, what's required reading, whether they need the whole book or only a single chapter. And I suspect that for many of the librarians on this call, right, they'll have encountered a situation in which a student comes up and says, I need this resource for a course, and this is the first time that they're hearing about it. So if the library has information from lecturers in advance about mandatory reading, the library can be more proactive about making these resources available to students. I think I'm handing off to Katie, the other Katie.
Thanks for that, the other Katie, yeah. Hi. So yeah, I think building on everything that's been said already in terms of the user journey, transformative agreements, the student experience, what resource sharing enables libraries to do from a collection development perspective is think about access as well as ownership, and providing access to users, access to resources for their users in a very timely way is something that we've been very focused on in our resource sharing solutions, and really thinking about how a group of libraries can make the best use of their resources in terms of how they are sharing their collections and evaluating their collections, and making sure that they, certainly in terms of transformative agreements, and making sure that interlibrary loan data, what's been borrowed, what's been requested, is taken into account in terms of looking at how to build a collection in the future. So I think with that, I'm handing it back to Atai.
Thank you very much, Katie. And I would like to give you an interesting question. You're welcome, and please take a few seconds to fill out this poll connected to what we have said recently. I'll give you a few seconds more, and then we'll switch to the next question. Thank you. So next question to the panelists. What are some new ways to fulfill user needs for patron, for library staff and faculty? Katie, I believe it's something of interest to you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, Katie Aronoff talked about the user journey just a few minutes ago, and the importance of that from the student experience, from the student's experience as well. What we've been doing in terms of that journey is thinking about how the discovery layer and resource sharing should be more closely integrated, and also that the resource sharing process should follow more of a, I'm going to use the term, and it may not be popular, but I'm going to say more of an e-commerce model, where the user knows what they're requesting, when it will be delivered, and they're kept up to date with how that progress is. We're all familiar with Amazon and how they've changed our shopping, online shopping experience. And some of that it's obviously very familiar to users. And so, we've tried to emulate that experience to a certain extent within one of our resource sharing products, Rapido. So rather than an end user, traditionally with interlibrary loan requesting, the user has to fill in a blank request form, or the user is navigated from a discovery layer or a search tool into a blank request form where they authenticate. And if they're lucky, it might populate some metadata fields. What we've done is change that model quite dramatically and in a transformative way, so that the user is actually searching from within the discovery layer more than just what the library holds or has access to, really extending that search to the central discovery index, which has more than 5 billion records. And so the user finds something that they want and they can request it. But in requesting it, they're given an indication of how soon they would have that item. And that's based on some pretty complex rules that sit behind the tool about who has the item, whether it's on the shelf, what kinds of terms of use are in place with that potential lending partner. So the user would see something that indicates, if it's a book, I can get it in about 5 days and I can keep it for 120 days. But actually 5 days is too long because I've got to hand this thing in on Monday. But a book chapter is all I need, and I could get that book chapter in 24 hours. And that's clearly laid out to me in the user journey. And so it's very easy for me as an end user to make a decision about whether I want the book because of the timeliness of its arrival, or whether I want a book chapter. And because of what sits behind the Rapido product in terms of rules and mediation and auto mediation, generally those rules, the presentation to the end user is accurate. On the flip side of that, what the staff see is an increase in requesting. because it's so much more easy and streamlined and friendly to use. However, what our libraries tell us is that, yes, there's an increase in requesting, but there's no increase on the staff side because so much of it is automated. So it's a win-win situation. You've got happy students getting the materials they need in a timely way with no need to add, staff time to that at all. So with that, I'm gonna, I think, hand over to Katie to respond.
Yeah, we have KDA and KDB here today, so it's always a good time when we have both of us on the same webinar, and I'm sure for all of you to keep track of who's who and what we're saying. I think that from the discovery perspective, fulfilling user needs is really an ongoing challenge, and one of the biggest ones that we face, and I think also an area where we may at times be called upon to challenge the status quo a little bit. I have been working in and around libraries for about 15 years now. And in that time, I've seen there's a constant tension that I think we all know is there, and at times we're more ready to acknowledge it, between doing things the way that we think they should be done with a certain attention to the integrity of the metadata and the research process and things like that. And on the other hand, meeting the user needs where the user is. Sometimes the user is in a place that librarians wish they weren't or that we don't like. Sometimes, especially right now, we're seeing a lot of users being really influenced by what is going on the internet as a whole. Katie mentioned this, that we have the influence of e-commerce sites. We also have the influence of things like social media, and more, we see our users, we know that our users are interacting with AI tools. They come to the library if they are using a library website, they're using Discovery presented in the context of an institutional web presence. They're not necessarily thinking of us as being any different from any of those other services. That is something that, I myself have had to sit with a certain amount of discomfort coming from an academic library background. But I can also remember some of the struggles that I had working in an environment without Discovery in some of my previous roles, trying to explain to users, this is presented in a certain way, and you need to understand what that is in order to interact with this information. That's a pretty serious hurdle for a lot of our users. So the challenge for us as we build discovery systems is to understand user behavior right now and to build a system that is flexible and extensible to be able to scale to fit user behavior as it changes. That's something we have been doing with our discovery systems over the years at Ex Libris. I think the goal has remained the same, and it's really we want the users to have a good experience of using our tools. We want the experience itself to also be convenient. You don't want to have people jump through too many hoops in order to figure out if the library has something or to do research on a specific topic, locate specific materials. We also want it to be a good enough experience that they'll come back and that they'll also recommend it to their friends. We want one student who is doing research for a paper to say to their roommates and the people they study with in the student center or at the library, it was really easy to find that information at the library. We want the word to spread organically. One of the projects that we're working on this year is a new user experience for Primo. We're working very, very tightly with the user community. This is based on feedback from the community about what users, both end users and librarians are also users, what everybody's looking for in a discovery experience. We're also doing a lot of work in that context as well. These are projects that are running in parallel. We're building a generative AI-powered research assistant that will interact with the discovery environment. It will allow the patrons to find answers, to find materials by asking questions. We know this is something that people have wanted to do with the internet pretty much since the internet has existed, just pose a question to it in natural language. being able to do that in the context of trusted library resources, things that have been curated and vetted, makes that experience much better for the patrons. It gives integrity to the results. It allows us to say that we know that this has happened in an environment where the information that's being surfaced is reliable. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. I think it'll be interesting to see how that's adopted. But, again, this is an ongoing challenge for us. It doesn't stop. It doesn't change with these things. So, with that being said, Jamie, I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are on meeting user expectations on the Alma side of the house.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, that was really fascinating. And I am going to tackle this a little bit more from, actually completely from the library staff perspective after we've heard a bit more about the patron and end user side of things. So, we're really extremely lucky to have a very large and very active user community. And Itai touched on this a little bit, but the engagement from the community really enables us to collaborate and develop with a very collaborative approach to creating software solutions that can fulfill the needs of library staff. And if we think about the context that I presented in the previous question, everything that I mentioned there has been or is currently being developed or enhanced with input from the library community. And this really ensures that we're creating valuable features, we're making tools, we're setting up workflows that library staff can actually benefit from. We're not just sitting in a dark room somewhere, designing on our own. We really have a ton of feedback from our community. And if we're thinking about the arena of transformative agreements, the library community has been involved from the ground up. So we've convened an open access focus group, conduct interviews and surveys. This is ongoing. We participate in the NISO Open Access Business Processes Working Group. And we really work to incorporate library voices throughout this development process and many others. Kind of hearkening back to the overlap analysis tool, this is really one of my favorite examples of community-driven improvement. And last year, the overlap analysis tool received a complete refresh based on feedback and insights from our user groups, from the library community at large, to really make the tool that much more user-friendly, that much more intuitive, interactive, and visually pleasing. So it was there before, it worked well, but now this is one of, dare I say, our customers' absolute favorite tools within Alma. More broadly, if we can zoom out, the team has been extremely focused on Alma from a user experience standpoint, with just continuous work and innovation to optimize and to simplify how staff engages with Alma. Like I've said, this work is really ongoing with the community and also UX experts to ensure that Alma is accessible, to ensure usability, and also to really focus on time savings. So things like user studies, focus groups, library staff involvement throughout the entire development lifecycle from design to release, I think creates improvements that are hugely beneficial to our library staff users. And I also think that this is just fantastic that our community members can contribute their thoughts, their ideas, their input in so many different ways through so many different potential forums, from really getting into the weeds with user groups to more casually writing off a few enhancement suggestions, for example. But ultimately, we're listening to you and you're helping us understand, but we're doing that heavy lift on your behalf when it comes to development. You share with us and we do the work for you. So I really think this is a fantastic way to meet our different user needs. Hadass, I think you might have something to share next.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, so I think one of the user groups that we haven't touched on is faculty, right? And one of the biggest challenges that we have in working with faculty is that they're so busy. And it's hard to capture their attention and be a priority among the many things that they're doing and that they're trying to get done. So when it comes to faculty needs, what they need more than anything when it comes to course creation is something that's easy, something that'll help them, and something that'll save them time. So from the Leganto perspective, the new way of fulfilling faculty needs is actually to sit behind the scenes where faculty is already working in their current workflows in the learning management system. So they get to do the work they need to organize their course. They don't need to go separately to the library website or to walk into the library and tell them what they need. The library can see all of that in Leganto, and they can just, again, sit behind the scenes, behind the workflow, support faculty, and be there essentially to support student learning. That's it from my end. I think I was the last speaker.
Great. Thank you, Hadass. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. You have a few minutes here to maybe consider what you heard and see how it meets you. I'll give you a few seconds to answer another interesting poll. And then we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so we heard a lot about data. So what actually the data and the tools that we need to highlight all the great things library are doing? I believe, Jamie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Itai. Great question. So once again, earlier in the session, I spoke about that overlap analysis, which is just one of multiple analytics-based tools that are available in Alma to really support your evidence-based decision-making. But if we expand out using all of the different opportunities with Alma Analytics and data visualization, users have access to just a treasure trove of library data that they can use. And it's not just to understand the collection, which is very important, but really to highlight the holistic value of the library. This is something that library leadership is often expected to do to really prove the value, and it can be really challenging to demonstrate library impact. So Alma Analytics has so many great features that enable libraries to showcase their contributions, to demonstrate cost effectiveness, and to align their services with broader institutional needs. What are your thoughts, Hadass? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got lost and I almost left the session, so that was exciting. Yeah, so I think one of the hardest parts about demonstrating libraries' added value is that most libraries don't necessarily have the data that they need to show this value. So I was a student worker in a library once, and people would come in and say, "Oh, thank you, you're so helpful," right? And that's really great to hear. But if you want to express to decision makers at the university what the library does, you can't say, "Oh, that student came in and told me that I was really helpful," right? You have to have data because that's how leadership measures return on investment. So for example, we have several Leganto customers who are using Leganto to measure the impact of their library collections on students in their courses. So in North America, as we know, learning affordability is a big concern. Students are dropping out because they can't afford their textbooks sometimes. And libraries are seeing this as an opportunity to highlight the actual dollar amount they can contribute to student success. So keeping students enrolled at the institution, in a lot of ways, this is work that the library is already doing, right? The library provides resources for students to use in their courses, but most libraries don't have a way to measure that, to say, we provide X number of resources for Y number of students, and therefore we're saving students Z amount of dollars. And so with Leganto, you do have that information. We have customers who are using this to promote the library and to promote this as a key role that the library can play. And in fact, we have customers who are saving their students between $1 and $6 million a year, and they have the Leganto data to prove it. Who am I handing over to right now? Is it Katie?
I believe it is me.
KDB.
Yeah.
KDB.
Oh, I thought it was KDA, but KDB can go first. All right. Well, I
Naturally.
guess it's me.
Katie,
yeah,
please continue.
it sounds like it's
Thank
me.
Katie, you.
I'm going to have to adopt a new alias for webinars, like when you go to Starbucks and you give them a different name. So I think when we think about the relationship between highlighting the library's value and discovery, we can't ignore the fact that the library that has discovery as the front door. I think this allows us to present the library as something that doesn't sit in a silo. And it is one of the tools, discovery as a whole is a really important tool that we can use to say to other people at our institution that we have value, that it is an easy way for them to come and find out what is held by the library, how they can get it and request it and have it sent to them. It has the capacity, the ability to put the library on more equal footing with other teams and departments by showing that we have a modern interface, we have an easy way to expose the things that are in the library and an easy way to request them. There are a lot of flashy tools on college campuses these days. This is our flashy looking tool. Why not have one of them? I think in terms of doing some of the work that Hadass was talking about getting the library really integrated in faculty and teaching and learning, and showing the relationship of our collections to the broader institution. I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again, that the Discovery offers a great way to showcase particular parts of the collection. If it is a themed history month or a specific week on campus, you can highlight that through library collections. And again, providing analytics for library staff to understand how patrons are using the Discovery interface is a really critical way of having a set of tools that allows us to say, this is what people are doing and these are the changes that we need to make in the future. This is the experience we've provided. We're also very invested here in solutions that are mobile friendly and that are developed with accessibility in mind. So there are many ways that we can use our public facing interfaces to prove our value. Katie B, I think you have some things to say about how resource sharing works in the context of library value.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. So I think, within the context of resource sharing, a library's willingness to commit to sharing and, really demonstrates the library's value more widely than within their institution, whether that's at a consortial level or beyond. And I think Rapid ILL success speaks really clearly to that, there are more than 600 libraries in 20 plus countries that have committed to fill requests that come to them within 24 hours and not charge of the libraries. And I think that really highlights the value that libraries bring to the wider community. So yeah, I think libraries clearly need to demonstrate that value to their leadership, but it's clear in the community itself.
Katie, thank you very much, both of the Katie. I believe that the next question is very obvious since you talk about a wider community and not just the library. So how they collaborating together, how they connect and do more? That's, I think, a very interesting aspect we might want to touch lightly. You want here to continue?
Sure. I'll pick that one up. So yeah, resource sharing is the obvious model of how libraries collaborate, and libraries do this in very many ways, and using different tools. What's important is that libraries see cost savings and affordability through resource sharing as well, because it really widens their own collection, your own collection, to a much broader collective collection. And we see this in across our resource sharing network, whether the libraries are using Rapid ILL or Rapido or Alma resource sharing. And, I really see a sort of renewed interest in resource sharing in the last year or so, and also in different regions around the world that don't have a strong history in resource sharing. It's really coming to light now that the importance of collaboration and sharing resources is key. So yeah, I think there's a lot more to say about this, but I think we're running out of time. So I'm going to hand back to the other Katie, because that's how we do things.
That's absolutely how we do things. I think that when we think about collaboration with discovery, an interesting angle to think about this from is collaboration among libraries within the user community. We have the ability with the Ex Libris user community to share knowledge within the community, and then between us as the vendor and the community, and that goes both ways. I think one of the most important tools that we have is our developer network. That's developers.exlibrisgroup.com for those of you who may not be familiar with it, where we document APIs and integrations, and we also host a blog that allows users to contribute their own development work. There's so much sharing that goes on within the community. Somebody may build a new customization package for the Primo UI, and suddenly you see it popping up around the user community that other libraries are using it. It's being shared organically. Through the Primo Studio tool that we have to develop the user interface locally, to really customize that locally, there are libraries that are sharing add-ons and plugins and things like that. So I think we can't overstate the ability of a community to work with a very open system that has open APIs and is standards compliant and is really based on the open discovery model, to build something that's collaborative and is meeting needs across a variety of different types of users. Itai, I think that you have something to say about this as well, from where you sit in the Alma organization.
Sure. So it's even wider perspective. We see it as a cross-product, Alma, Primo, and Leganto, and others that we mentioned, of course. It's also looking on a wider developer community as part of the developers network. It's a great collaboration there, using cloud apps in Alma and other application and integration that can be shared, and great script working. We also have additional three collaboration that I would like to mention. First is the formal and official NERSC request process that we are doing every year, working together and handling the topmost requested new features, using the ID exchange, which is open to the entire community to raise IDs, vote on them. And we are taking them very highly regard and doing a lot to enhance according to that priority as well. And finally, also working with focus group on various areas and different products, focusing, working together, showing what we are doing, get very detailed feedback, and that will be a great opportunity to collaborate between it. So we see it as a very, very important part of our daily work for this collaboration. Hadass, I think you have a few things to add to this.
Yeah, thank you. So in the context of Leganto, I think the obvious collaboration that we can think about is teaching and learning, right? Partnering with faculty, with academic departments, maybe with instructional designers to want to make courses more affordable. But beyond teaching and learning, I think Leganto really offers libraries the opportunity to think more creatively and connect with even with the stakeholders from outside of the institution. I'm thinking of an example of one of our customers from Scotland who wanted to create a guide to healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. And they worked with nonprofits in Scotland and different organizations to come up with the right list. I think it's something like 200 different items that's freely available to anyone through the library. It removes sort of the hurdle for people having to come in and ask for help. They don't have to ask for it. So even if you're not a student at the library, you can access the list, you can take it off the shelf and see it. So it's really another way for the library to connect, again, with different subject matter experts, with students, and with the entire community in which they sit.
Great, that's very interesting, I must say. So kind of a nice short poll that also touches this area. I'll give you a few seconds to look on it, post your comment or post your answer here. And we move to the last question, which I find it one of the most interesting one for this session. So what one innovation that excites you the most in the next year that people should be paying attention to? I must say there are many. So, but let's see, Katie Aronov, what do you think is for you?
I have to pick just one. I think I did the assignment wrong. So I think that what I'm most excited about in discovery in the next year is probably linked data. We're doing some really interesting work to expose linked data connections to users through discovery so that you'll be able to understand a relationship or a series of relationships between, let's say, an author and other works by the same author or other people who may be connected with that author and their work. It's really about mapping out what those relationships are. That's the thing that I'm most excited about. But if you ask me tomorrow, there's a chance I might say that the AI discovery assistant is the thing that I'm most excited about. There's really so much to look forward to. We're at a very exciting moment here. Katie B, I can hand it off to the other Katie for the last time today. What are you looking forward to in the next year?
Thanks, Katie. For me, I think very much honing in on the resource sharing roadmap that we have here at Ex Libris is we're working on some pretty exciting functionality around ebooks and resource sharing, which we hear a lot about from the community, the desire to be able to lend ebooks where somebody has negotiated that license. And so that is very manual workflow, if it even works at all right now. So we're putting in some smarts and some technology that will really facilitate, a leapfrog moment for ebook and resource sharing. I think I'm going to go to Hadass next.
Go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I'm here. I got it. Finally figured out how to unmute myself. I'm sad I don't get to hand off to one of the Katies again, but all right. So in Leganto this year, we're really excited about our focus. One of our main focuses on student engagement, student success. We love working with our community, and this year we're going to be working with them a lot to understand what they need to be able to play a larger role in student success. We're planning on doing a lot of research in this field, and we're excited about it. Am I handing off to Jamie? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so I'm most excited about the work that we're doing in AI. And I think everyone's kind of alluded to something that they're doing in their individual areas of work. But from the Alma team perspective, we're really engaging a lot on exploration around how we can incorporate AI to save library staff time, to really further improve the user experience in novel ways. So, how can we make cataloging less difficult, less time consuming? How can we proactively provide real-time and personalized support to users, when they have questions about Alma workflows, for example? So a lot of stuff we're doing behind the scenes right now that is extremely exciting, and I'm looking forward to sharing that in the next year or so. Itai, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm actually very excited as well on all of this topic, and I'm personally involved in many of them. So I must say that I really knows a lot about what is happening behind the scenes, and I believe that everybody will be excited as well on it. There's a lot of things that happening in a broader perspective of collection development as well, how we connecting dot and using AI. And again, AI is a tool, is not a goal. It's just another new shiny tool we can use and help library to achieve much more and with the helper. So I'll move forward now with the last poll, but actually this poll, this time, it's actually the same question. What innovate excites you? Here in the audience, we'll be happy to hear what you think about AI, all of the different types. What do you think about linked data, how it can be utilized across cataloging, discovery, exposure, and any other potential things. And I encourage you to join many of the webinars we have around those topics. You heard a lot about student engagement and how it's maybe not easy to get the attention of faculty, but it's very important and something that is a focus area. And last but not least for me, it's collection development. Can we do it better? Can we do it more collaboratively? Many shared print consideration and other collaboration that can be done across many institutions. So here, I believe that it's an interesting question, and I'll be happy that more answer will come from you, and see what do you think about this topic. See already almost 100 people already answer it, and all of you are more than encouraged to answer your part before we'll see the outcome. What do you think?
I love the conversation that's going on in the chat right now, where a lot of people wanted to pick more than one. So that's
sure.
Really awesome to hear.
I'm sure. So thank you very much. Let's see. It's I'm thrilled to see the answer. You too, Jamie? All of you? Let's see.
Yeah.
So unsurprisingly, AI, of course, is one of the major, but it's not the only one. You see, everybody is very interested in most of the topics we just mentioned. I think that's very, very interesting point of view. And as we said, AI is actually serving all, so it's all mixed together. And it's all related to each other. It's all connected.
Up the poll for multiple responses. So if folks want to pop back in and
that's
share their
great.
love of multiple things, please feel free.
Yeah.
So Ty, while we've got a couple of minutes before we have to wrap up, there was a question earlier when I was talking about saving staff time, and I can't find it now in the chat. Maybe somebody can help me.
I can read it for you.
That'd be great. Thanks, Jamie.
Sorry. Can you discuss how staff time doesn't increase with Rapido? Is there not a manual aspect like in Rapido ILL or Iliad?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, it's a good one. So the difference here is that Rapido is aware of holdings. It's aware of your holdings, and it's also aware of real-time availability across the network. So not just within your library. So that makes a huge difference when we're trying to find lenders, right? Because we know that it's on the shelf, and we know that this library is in your first group that you want to go to. So we found that the mediation, the very smart mediation that is in the system, means that borrowing requests are very rarely touched by a member of staff, and lending requests are very easy and quick to fill. Also because of the tight integration with the ILS as well. So there are some very key differences in Rapido. It's inventory aware, it's real-time availability aware, and it's also aware of your e-resources for filling lending requests, and it has tight integration with your search system. I think we're just about at time.
Yeah, Katie, so thank you very much. There is time for one last question I will take about, which is my favorite, AI and linked data, how it's related. But again, it's a whole topic. So quickly, just saying AI can extract a lot of information from unstructured data and structuring it into a very good and well-defined linked data record cataloging. If you wish to know more, there will be many webinars around this topic, and dive in. You're welcome to join. So again, thank you very much for all the panelists. You can see their emails if you then intention. You can send more questions. I know there's a lot of questions always, and we will definitely give more answers along the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Atai, and thanks, everyone. Yeah, just a quick reminder before we sign off here. We do record all of our webcasts, so if you missed any part of today's presentation and you want to rewatch it, or if you'd like to share it with someone that wasn't able to watch it with us today, the on-demand recordings are usually ready to watch within a few hours of the live broadcast. And we will send you an email tomorrow with a reminder and a link to watch the recording. Plus, if you want to check out any of our other content, you can find our other webcasts and online courses and virtual events over in the events and professional development section at libraryjournal.com. So we encourage you to go over there and check out what we've got going on. So yeah, thanks again for attending today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.